My childhood dream of becoming a filmmaker has always seemed out of reach due to financial barriers. How could I ever afford the cameras, the lights, the sets, everything involved in making a film? But recently I tried out some software called Cinema Studio 2.0, and I feel like the playing field has suddenly been leveled. I've been wanting to make a short film of my 5-year-old self who dreamt of making movies after watching The Never-Ending Story back in the 1980s. The expense of hiring a child actor to play me, as well as actors to play my mom and brother, and finding sets for my childhood home and school, have seemed completely overwhelming. I've always been stopped dead in my tracks. Growing up in a low-income household with a single mother and being visually impaired, no one took my dreams of becoming a filmmaker seriously. So when you first enter Cinema Studio 2.0, it greets you with, "What would you shoot with infinite budget?" I definitely have a few ideas. So instead of starting out with generating a video right off the bat, you want to start with generating an image so you can create a hero frame to use to set your scene. The first thing I wanted to point out is this @ symbol down here. This lets you create an element. You can upload a reference photo. As you can see, I've already selected a couple family photos to use as reference for my characters. This plus symbol here, and then upload photo. It takes you right into your photos folder. And then you can add a name and a description, and you can save this as an element to use for an ongoing character. I'm no expert at writing prompts to generate images, but just in simple terms, I did use my element for my April character, and then I just wrote a simple description about a 5-year-old girl with braids and thick glasses sitting in a 1980s movie theater and watching a movie with excitement. And then you can also click this plus button here, and it brings up a list of images that you've already saved from before to use for reference, which I find this to be really handy. And down here for your batch size, you can choose up to 4 different images to generate at the same time, so you can have a selection to choose from with slightly different variations. And then here you can choose your aspect ratio, which I decided to use 16:9 because I'm going to be using this for YouTube. And then you can pick your resolution, anything from 1K to 4K. And then for the grid, you can choose 1x1 up to 4x4. I'm just going to keep it simple and do 1x1. And then again, here's your @ symbol to add an element for reference. And then this is the fun part. Here you can choose your camera, your lens, your focal length, and your aperture. For your cameras, they let you choose Studio Digital Super 35, Classic 16mm film. That would be really interesting. I want to try that. Premium Large Format Digital, Grand Format 70mm film, Full Frame Cine Digital, Modern 8K Digital. I don't think so, not for something retro. I'm going to stick with the Super 35. And then for the lens, you can choose a 70 Cinema Prime, Classic Anamorphic, Premium Modern Prime, Warm Cinema Prime, Swirl Bokeh Portrait, Vintage Prime, Halation Diffusion, Clinical Sharp Prime. I think for this one, I'm going to stick with the 70 Cinema Prime. And then for your focal length, I'm going to stick with the 35, but you could also use 50mm, or you can have an ultra-wide shot of 14mm, or even 8mm, but I'm going to stick with 35mm because I want to show some of the theater. For the aperture, I'm fine with using f4, but maybe for another scene I would use f1.4 so I could blur out the background a little bit more. And then you can go ahead and generate your image. Now here's the 4 images it generated. I wanted to show you this interesting feature called 3D Scene. And this lets you move around in your scene and you can change your camera angle. So I like this shot, so I'm going to go ahead and animate this one. And as you can see, when you click animate, it takes you down into the video tab. Now for the movement, it's defaulted to auto, but there's a lot of different options up here. You can do a static shot, handheld, which I like for a little bit of authenticity, zoom out, zoom in, camera follow, pan left, pan right, tilt up, tilt down, orbit around, dolly in, dolly out. Gives you a lot of options. Jib up, jib down, drone shot. I think I'm going to use this a few times. Dolly left, dolly right, and the 360 roll. That could come in handy on occasion, but I'm going to leave that at auto. And then for the speed ramp, it's set to auto, but you can also do impact, speed up, slow motion, linear, custom, and I'm just going to keep it at auto. And then for the duration, you can do 5 seconds all the way up to 12 seconds. I'm going to keep mine set at 5 seconds. Now it's set to single shot, but you can also do multi-shot auto and multi-shot manual. Now what I like about multi-shot manual is it gives you a lot more control over your scenes. You can even change up the duration of each scene. So I'm going to use multi-shot manual. And then again, your aspect ratio. I'm keeping mine at 16:9 for YouTube. For the quality, you can choose 720 or 1080. I'm going to stick with 1080. Now, I like this. You can select the genre. It's set at general right now, which I think that's going to work out fine for the story I'm trying to tell. But you can also choose action, horror, no thank you, comedy, possibly, western, suspense, intimate, and spectacle. But I'm going to keep mine set at general. And then the audio's on. And then the batch size, I'm going to go with 4, so it'll give me my 4 different options instead of just 1. And then here it has the starting frame added, and then you can add an end frame. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and just generate this. Okay, and here are my different options. I'm going to click on each one and see which one I like the best. Okay, then for my next scene, I'm going to have my character turn to her mom in the movie theater and say that she wants to make movies someday. And here's some options of the 2 scenes put together.
I want to make movies someday, Mom. I want to make movies someday, Mom.
And I'm going to go ahead and download this one. Now, as you can see, there's a slight issue. I forgot to add my mom sitting next to me in the movie theater in the first scene. So I'm going to go ahead and revise that and add her. And again, if you hit the @ symbol, it brings up a list of your reference images that you have saved. Here's a trailer of my short film I was able to create with Cinema Studio 2.0. In a world that doesn't always accept those of us who are a little different, April found it difficult to fit in.
How was your day?
I don't fit in, Mom.
But whenever she would go to the movies, her imagination was filled with ideas for stories that she could tell one day.
I want to make movies someday, Mom.
Cinema Studio 2.0 has opened up a world of filmmaking for me. With the cost of cinema cameras and hiring a crew being out of my league, I never thought I'd get to make a short film like this. If you're interested in trying out Cinema Studio 2.0, I did put a link in the description below. If you like this video, give it a like, consider subscribing for more camera-related content from a newbie like me. God bless.